Greetings everyone, I'm Talia Kraft, here to interview my father and author, well not my author, but author in general, Kevin M. Kraft, about his new re-released book, MOMO, the Inspirational Thriller. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, back to the interview. Enough with pleasantries. Tell me the story. Like, where did the original idea come from?
The original idea came to me actually when I was a kid. It was inspired by actually two films. One was The Thing from Another World, which you're familiar with, which was the first movie to really kind of scare me, really, in any way. It was well done, so it was an effective thriller. The second was one that came along about 20 years later from The Thing from Another World, called Sasquatch, The Legend of Bigfoot, which was kind of a pseudo-documentary about a search for Bigfoot in I think it was in Oregon or something like that. Came out in theaters then, and my dad took me to see it. And just the idea of Bigfoot was just kind of emerging as a household name. And that really kind of captured my imagination about these, is it possible these creatures exist in forests all over the world and everything? So those two movies together, when I was a kid, I said I wanted to be a filmmaker even then. And I thought one day I'd like to make a really good, really scary Bigfoot movie. And I kind of had an idea already in my head at that point, which wouldn't be really realized until adulthood, well into adulthood actually. So those were the inspirations for MOMO.
Why pick MOMO, not like any other version you can go with? It's probably even more well known.
Well, that was what was interesting to me. I'm a big cryptozoology fan, as you know. I share my love with you. And in all my research, as I started thinking, because I wanted to do like a Bigfoot type creature, and I knew that much. And so I just started, searching Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and all those types of creatures, and I happened upon MOMO. Now I've been living in Kansas City already for some time, and yet I'd never heard of MOMO, the Missouri Monster. And all of a sudden, in my research, I'm encountering this creature, and it's like, wow, this is fantastic. It's a singular creature. He's got his own name. It's a different type of, you can call it a Bigfoot type creature, but there are things about him that make him unique and stand out from the other hominids, creatures like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and everything. There are things that make him different, that put him in a class by himself. Just the sheer number of eyewitness testimonies or accounts during 70, I think it was 72, 73 or something, where the original incident took place with MOMO, makes him stand out as a very unique, very compelling cryptid. And I thought, well, that's perfect. Rather than just have a generic Bigfoot type creature, we'll go with MOMO. It's got a recognizable name and everything. So that's why I chose him. And it was just cool. I thought, that's perfect. And I was surprised that, like me, a lot of Missourians don't know about the Missouri Monster. So that's where that choice came in.
Okay. But you made it into a screenplay first, right?
Correct. So
you had no intention of making a movie first.
Right.
So tell me, why make it into a novella then? Why make it into a book immediately?
That was a choice that was actually suggested to me by my wife.
Lovely woman, I met her before.
and your mother. I made the screenplay with the intention of making a movie, of course, and we couldn't get any feet under that, and it was your mom who suggested, well, why don't you write the book? Get the book out there. And then maybe, who knows, maybe somebody will come along and want to turn it into a movie or something subsequent to that. So I said, okay, I'll try that. So I wrote the novella, and novella, became a really big hit. It became one of my more successful books. Even though it's one of my smallest works, it's one of my most successful. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Now, tell me, why do you think it is the most awarded book? you have? You know, got an award in 2016, right?
2010, I think.
Okay, 2010.
Yeah.
What would you say?
That was the screenplay, actually.
Okay, screenplay.
Yeah. The book won
2016, right?
2016, something like that. Yeah, I don't remember which year.
Why do you think that is the most awarded book of all the ones you've done? I mean, the smallest.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's a very simple concept, you know. Nothing people haven't probably seen before. So why do you think that one, out of all the ones, got the most attention?
I'm not sure if the comments that I've received, if I can distill the comments that I've received about it, to come up with a response. I guess it's because of the relationship between the father and son that a lot of men identify with, or wish they had in some cases. And a lot of them have written to me and said, I thought, when I read that, I thought about my own relationship with my father and stuff. I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that, But I think it's a relationship between the father and son in the book. I think it's just the element of faith in the book is really important too. They're both Christians, and so it's their faith in the midst of an extraordinary situation. And how it's exercised. I think that people really like that. And I've actually heard from non-believers comment on this as well. Saying I don't claim the faith, but I really enjoyed how it was portrayed, in this book, and they got the message in it, and. So I think those two things, and plus, just the whole idea of being a feature sort of book. I think that really is kind of something that a lot of people are attracted to, and to find all these elements in one book, I think it makes it an attractive package as well.
Actually, that's pretty amazing. Pretty rare. Most of the time when people start introducing faith into a movie or into a book, usually it stands out. People might say, I don't like, and we can pass over the faith, but to get to the meat of the story. But it's actually quite interesting that you told me that people seem to enjoy the faith of non-believers.
Yeah, thank you. I find it interesting too, and I must do a pretty good job of including those elements in a way that's palatable to people, without knocking them over the head with it. And I think that the key to that, to me, is a lot of writers, a lot of Christian writers, start with a message, that they want to present. And then they create the characters and the situations around that message. And because of that, it becomes heavy-handed. It becomes didactic, And people don't like that. They don't like to be hit over the head with the Bible or anything like that. In my case, I always like to create the characters, characters of faith and everything. And then say, okay, now let's let the monster loose, at them and see how they react. Stephen King said something similar. To that, create compelling characters and then unleash the monster on them, But that's what I like to do. That way, the faith aspects come naturally, through the characters. The characters, I treat characters like the living, breathing creatures. Okay, how are they going to react if Momo comes, at them, or how are they going to react in this situation or that situation, and then how they react is a natural reaction, and then the reader can divine whatever message, through that. I'm not forcing the message. It's coming. It's just their faith is coming through, and they're divining messages from whatever is happening with the characters.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Thanks.
Okay, well let's just take a quick closer look though at the characters themselves.
Okay.
Like the relationship between the father and son. Did you base that on your own childhood, on your relationship with your sons themselves? Is it any way based on your own life? Would you say?
No, not really. No, I just kind of, the father may be based loosely upon me, just because I wanted to kind of, if I'm going to be a father, then I've got to see the character, as a father, being a father myself. But I didn't want them to be too much like me, and the son is just, it's just the son. They're really not based on anything specific in my life. I just kind of created them out of whole cloth, as it were. The father may have some of my characteristics, but that's all.
What about the relationship dynamic Was it based on anything you've seen, or just like the ideal you had?
I think it's an examination of the fact that very often parents expect things of their children, sometimes disregarding who the children really are. You know, because you're my son, I think that I anticipate or expect you to behave this way or to respond this way and everything. So I think that has a lot to do with it. The father coming to realize, hey, my son he's himself. He's not me, And also, the fact that the character Mark in the story, without revealing too much, experience those same expectations from his father, and he finds himself repeating some of the same mistakes, or in danger of repeating some of the same mistakes with Evan, his son in the picture, and so.
No, we don't want to spoil too much. So let's go ahead and take a little bit closer look at the writing process for you. Was it difficult to write something like this? I mean, you've written other things before this, but was it difficult to write something this short, pretty condensed, short, and very different from all the other books? Only two characters, and it's one situation, pretty much one place, entire book. Was it any way difficult to write it, or was it easier?
It wasn't particularly difficult. I kind of went into it knowing exactly what I wanted to accomplish, and it sort of surprised me at how short it was. Not that it's incredibly short, but it's a lot shorter than my other books. It's a novella, so that kind of surprised me. And when I wrote it, I thought it actually came out pretty quickly, pretty easily. That the story and the characters were pretty fully formed, pretty much. When I got done with it, I thought, hey, it's a little short. I was shorter than my other books, and I was tempted to to add more to it to make it bigger. But then I thought, no. I always believe that a story only needs to be as long as it needs to be to tell the story. And so I thought if I added anything to it, it would just dilute it. And I thought, no, it says what it needs to say. It tells the story that it needs to. It doesn't need to be any longer. So it's not a novel; it's a novella, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And as it turned out, people enjoy it. That some comment it's a quick read, but as long as it's an enjoyable read and tells a good story, that's the important thing.
Important thing. They assume when you're writing adult fiction or general fiction, you gotta make that book long, a mile long.
Yeah, there's always that temptation.
Everyone's competing for war and peace.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
So when you were writing it, did at any point you thought I'm gonna make it more like a horror book, or did you ever take inspiration from horror, or did you think it would be horror?
Yeah. Particularly during the screenplay, when I was writing the screenplay, there were in the early versions that there was more of a horror story in some ways. So yeah, I did consider it, and in the end, though, I thought, well, and this is based on actually some of the response that I got from other people who read the script, and didn't really like the script because they thought they were thinking horror, and I in the end thought, I don't want it to be a horror story. So I want it to be a thriller, which is different. A lot of people don't talk about the difference between horror and thriller, even though at the same time thrillers of horror stories of the past are now considered thrillers in some ways. Even Michael Jackson's Thriller, it's a big, talks about horror films, classic horror films, type of thing. So, but there is a difference, a perceived or an imperceived difference, I think, in the minds of readers. Horror is it's more horrific. There's more, at least there's more death involved in horror. Usually, it's more graphic as far as the violence goes.
Tends to be line of fear more often.
That's true. Whereas thrillers, while there's the threat of death, it's not necessarily something that's going to occur to the characters or any of the characters. It's more of a suspense type of deal, where they may be dealing with horrific elements, but it's more of a race against time or a race against a situation, and time is running out and that kind of thing. So I decided that that in marketing MOMO, particularly as a book, I found that people were more receptive of it when I marketed it as a thriller rather than a horror film, especially since it's a Christian book. Christians, by and large, they shy away from anything horrific. I mean, and that's something that hasn't changed much, over the years. That they equate horror with things that are impalpable to the Christian mind. Violence and blood and that kind of stuff. So so I had a lot of trouble with people looking at my work. Christian people look at my work because of the horror aspect. And while it didn't bother me because I thought it's innovative, sometimes innovation, you have to find your niche, and it takes a little while to do that. So I said, okay, well, I'll market it as a thriller instead. And once I did that, people, fine,
How weird.
They were fine with it. And so I said, okay, all right. So it's an inspirational thriller now, and I make sure I emphasize that when I'm in marketing. But as far as writing it, it was pretty easy. The marketing it was difficult as a learning thing, but yeah.
Okay. Now, as far as inspirational thriller goes, though, I don't think I've ever heard inspirational thriller being used ever before or after this. What is it to you? What is an inspirational thriller to you exactly? What makes an inspirational thriller?
That's a good question. And I become more or less famous for developing subgenres or creating genres, and an inspirational thriller is definitely one. To me, an inspirational thriller would be a thriller, like MOMO is a suspense thriller, but it has an inspirational element to it in the way that the faith of the characters is expressed. So that would be how I would define it. And those who have read the book, and it's not just my words, but those who read the book have said that they found it inspiring. So I thought, it's inspirational. So it's an inspirational thriller. So,
okay. All right then. Well, we've covered a lot. We've already covered quite a bit.
It's all right.
None of my questions.
Okay. Did we go through them all?
No. We just have a few left.
Okay, all right. Go for it.
Okay, so we haven't yet. Strange. It comes ironic. You have a screenplay to a novella, and now you made it to another screenplay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that anyway that different? What was that like to have to do it all over again? Did you change a lot? Was it difficult? Easy?
It was a challenge because I'm so close to my work, both the screenplay and the book. It was my biggest challenge was trying to be objective about it, which was virtually impossible for me to. And I knew that, but I did the best that I could, and I thought, because we're making the movie, I had to reimagine some things about it. For instance, the son in the picture is older than the son in the book and in the original screenplay. So I had to try to write the part of Evan older, which was difficult because I'm kind of married to the dialogue and everything that's already established. Okay, well now I got to reimagine that as somebody that's a few years older than Evan and Evan was. So it was challenging. It was very very challenging, as a matter of fact. And in fact I realized one of the things that I'm grateful for. We're making the movie with our family, as you know, is. I'm grateful for it, but it's also the hardest aspect of it, and that is getting other people's opinion. Because I can't rely on mine because I'm not objective about it. I need other eyes on it and other opinions, and so having other people go through the script and then tell me their opinions on it, and objective opinions on it, it's difficult for me. It's almost brutal in some ways, because it's my baby and you're chopping it up, or you're disfiguring it. But it's
imagery.
It's really, but it's challenging. But I know that needs to happen, and so it's a good thing. And but it was difficult. It was difficult, but it was a challenge that I welcome, because I want this to be a real success. And if it's going to be a successful movie, then I've got to have more than my own opinion and my own eyes on it. And so. It's both challenging, but it's a good thing.
Well, at least you have actual people close to you to butcher your work. It's much worse when it's a stranger.
That is true. That is true.
So when working with your family to make this movie, something you imagine you'd do, something you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I actually wrote the script with the intention of myself and Tyler, your eldest brother, playing the role. I meant for it to be a family thing. I don't know if at the time I wrote it, I thought of us actually making the movie as a family company. But I definitely I wanted Tyler to play the role of Evan alongside me. And then when that didn't pan out, it started dawning on me. It's like, I want to build a company with the family, I want to do things. I want to make movies with my family if they're interested in it. And it took us several years, maybe almost a decade, to get to the point. But we're finally at the point where we're ready to work as a company to make motion pictures, and that I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled at that, because that is what I've wanted for several years, is to just to do that. So it's been really exciting to see people finally, us finally come together, and people everybody's on board now, instead of not just me. Everybody's ready to tackle this, and we've developed skills and developing skills that we can bring to bear on this project, and I'm excited about it, and I think it'll be a real success in the end. I really do.
You get to direct it.
Yeah.
How does that feel to be able to direct something that you're supposed to?
That's like a dream come true to me. I've wanted to direct this and make it, and to do that, and also star in it. With my son Timothy this time, because he's Tyler's grown the role, unfortunately, and Timothy's just barely in the age range. For the role, we've actually had to increase the age range of the son in the picture to accommodate that. But we wanted to do it in-house, everything in-house. So those changes were welcome. I'm directing it. I'm acting in it. I'm writing the music for it too, which is fascinating. So it's a dream come true. It's like everything that I've imagined doing. Making a motion picture, doing all this stuff, and working with my family and doing it. Tyler's a wonderful cinematographer, and he's also a director, so he's bringing those sensibilities to bear on it as well. And everybody's doing different things, different departments. It's great. I love it. It's what I wanted.
Well said. Very inspirational and very thrilling, I might add.
Thank you.
You want to aim more for the Christian crowd, more the secular crowd? A mix of the both? Where do you want this to go?
I think the Christian audience is going to be our primary audience. Okay. Because I know that Christian films, to me, I've always had a heart for Christian films and making excellent Christian films that kind of color outside the lines, of most Christian films. And a creature feature like this is definitely something that's outside of, you don't hear a lot about in Christian movies. So I'm excited about creating Christian movies that are different, that are color outside the lines, that people don't expect, So that's I'm excited. I'm excited about that. I really hope that that people enjoy what we're doing. And just we're working together. I think it's wonderful. Yeah. It's wonderful. I can't say much more, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Do you think in the movie, do you think there'll be any problem balancing the message and the action?
Yeah, I don't think so. Only because when I write, whether it's a screenplay, of course, or whether it's a book, I try to write cinematically. I try to bring those sensibilities to bear on whatever I'm writing, you know. And as I write, I kind of see it as a movie playing in my head. And so I don't think I think we're going to be able to transfer a lot of that that I was successful, you know, in writing both the screenplay and the book. Transfer that to the screen. I think it'll be very easy to do. So, I think there's a challenge in probably between the book and the screenplay and the movie, recognizing the visual aspects are going to need to be emphasized more, you know. But I think it'll be just as successful on the screen as it is on the page.
All right. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Hopefully everyone else will too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've gone through my questions. Anything you want to talk about?
I can't think of anything. Just be sure to keep up on my website and on the Heaven's Wheel website, heavenswheelproductions.com, for the latest on the motion picture. We're going to try to keep content coming, you know, so people can follow us on our journey and everything. So I think that'll be important. And I hope people are really looking forward to this. I know a lot of people have asked about this, about the movie project, and we're finally at a point where we're actually doing it, and that's pretty cool. So,
all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
For being here.
Thank you for the interview.
All right.
It was a pleasure.
Indeed.